Kevin Durant, a household name of the NBA game today. One of the most gifted scorers or players the NBA has ever seen, and because of the uniqueness of his game and how great he is, everyone is always looking at who his predecessor will be. KD's tall, long, slim frame is one that is being seen more and more nowadays. So virtually anyone who's tall and skinny is labeled the next Kevin Durant, even if the rest of their game resembles something closer to Sean Bradley. This label is thrown around so loosely like it barely means anything, when in fact, it's not something small for a young player to be labeled as. So today, we'll be looking at some of the most infamously named Kevin Durant clones and see where they're at today, which will help us find out, is the next Kevin Durant label a blessing or a curse? There's been a lot of players who've been named the next Kevin Durant, but probably none of them more than New Orleans Pelicans wing Brandon Ingram. If you've watched Ingram play, which I'm sure most of you have, it's easy to see why him and KD are often compared. Tall, long frame, smooth handles, high release jumper in tandem with a silky pull-up game. These are all things that resemble Kevin Durant. Ingram presumably has been compared to KD before he even came out of his mother's womb. KD himself has even likened Ingram's game to his, saying this, "I look at him and I feel like I'm looking in the mirror." I mean, it doesn't get more straightforward than that. So how did such pressure affect Brandon Ingram and his career, being labeled the next Kevin Durant? It's been nothing but a benefit for him so far. Ingram was drafted number 2 overall out of Duke in 2016 by the Los Angeles Lakers. Ingram gradually improved every season in LA, but when the Lakers saw Anthony Davis was interested in joining, Ingram had to be included in the package to the Pelicans. But this was a blessing in disguise for Ingram, because now he had an opportunity to become the number 1 option at his new franchise, which he did, becoming an All-Star in his first year with the Pels, as well as winning the 2019-20 Most Improved Player. He averaged 24 points and career highs across the board, as well as improving the consistency in his three-point jumper, which was one thing he was lacking in his first few seasons in the league. Over the next 2 seasons, Ingram continued to average over 20 points a game, and last season, he led the Pels to 2 big play-in wins and a playoff berth for the first time since 2018. Here Ingram showed out, and you could really see his comparison to KD finally come to life. After last season's postseason and the Pels' young roster led by Ingram, the Pelicans are looking to become part of the new generation of the Western Conference. It's definitely safe to say the KD comparison was more of a blessing for Ingram. Another player who's constantly being compared to Kevin Durant is Nuggets forward Michael Porter Jr. MPJ is a 6'10" athletic wing who happens to also possess a similar frame and skill set to KD. Porter was one of the most popular players in the 2017 high school class, dominating high school basketball while attending Nathan Hale High School. In high school, Porter showcased his athleticism, handles, and ability to pull up over anyone from anywhere, just like Kevin Durant. Except unlike KD, Porter can't even guard a mannequin. Anyway, Porter was later ranked the number 2 consensus player in the 2017 class, where he would later attend Missouri for college. Porter only played 3 games in college in his one and only freshman season, due to back problems that would require surgery. So when the 2018 draft came along, although he is ranked as a top 5 talent, due to injury he slipped all the way down to the Denver Nuggets at number 14. And the injury concerns were valid, because Porter missed his entire rookie year after getting back surgery for a second time. Finally in his rookie year, Porter showed why he was a top 2 talent before college, putting up 9 points on ridiculous efficiency with the Nuggets team who made it to the Western Conference Finals. The following season, Porter improved greatly, where he was given a much larger scoring role, bumping up his points to 19 a game, remaining the same unbelievable shooting efficiency. This season would help Porter finish 3rd in Most Improved Player voting, and ultimately have the Nuggets give him a max extension for 5 years, nearly $180 million. Needless to say, with such an improvement that season before his huge extension, many believed Porter could climb into the All-Star category in the following 2021-22 season. But the exact opposite happened. Porter played horrible in 9 games, averaging 9 points on 36% from the field and 21% from 3. But it was clear something was wrong with him. After only 9 games, Porter wouldn't play again that season, and he would have a third back surgery to aid his constant back issues. For Porter, the talent has clearly been there all along, and it was beginning to shine through, but injuries continue to halt his momentum. Hopefully this season he can continue where he left off before his injuries started. For Porter, the KD comparison has done little mental harm, and looks to be closer to a blessing than a curse. Unlike Porter and Ingram, someone whose KD comparison looks like more of a curse for them is former top 3 consensus recruit Imani Bates. Bates may be the player compared most to KD, or maybe it's just due to the growth of social media. But Imani has always been in the headlines, whether it's due to KD comparisons or not. Bates has a very slim frame like KD and is around 6'10". His jump shot and the way he carries the ball up the court looks so similar to KD. Bates since middle school was viewed as a top prospect, and going into high school that definitely didn't change. In Ypsilanti, Michigan, Bates led Lincoln to a state title in his freshman season, and at 15, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, some saying he was the biggest high school prospect since LeBron James. In his sophomore season, he won the Gatorade Player of the Year award. In his final season in high school, which was his junior year, he transferred to Ypsi Prep, a move that raised many eyebrows because it was created by his dad. Bates decided to reclassify from the 2022 class to the 2021 class, where he became ranked 3rd overall, making him college eligible for the 2021-22 season. He originally committed to Michigan State, but then switched to Memphis to play beside his buddy Jalen Duren and Penny Hardaway, and at Memphis things didn't go as planned. Bates was barely 17 years old playing in college, so the battle was already uphill, but he had a pretty tough time anyway, only averaging around 10 points a game, and he just didn't look like he belonged at the highest level of college. Bates also missed a good chunk of the season due to a back issue, but returned to play limited minutes in the NCAA tournament. After the disappointing year, Bates decided to enter the transfer portal, where he decided to join Eastern Michigan next season to get himself back on the NBA track. For Imani, the KD comparisons did nothing but curse a kid who had enormous pressure on him from a young age. Being labeled the biggest high school prospect since LeBron didn't help either. So, after looking at these 3 players and knowing all the other names that have been labeled the next KD, is it a blessing or a curse? The next KD is something that gets thrown around so much, it's hard to say it's a blessing or a positive. So many players get compared to KD that don't get nearly as far as these guys do, and other guys at the NBA level that I didn't mention either, because the comparison didn't stick or they weren't as noticeable. But for the guys like B.I., and to an extent Michael Porter Jr., it worked in their favor. Pressure is a privilege. For some it's a blessing, for others it's a curse. And that's all that the label of the next KD is, just added pressure. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, stay rested. See you in the next one.